right. So as this sort of little squad, this multiplying squad of hatchlings, kind of gets its shit together and says, "All right, we're going to go do this." When you get up into there, and again, there's gouts of flame and stuff like that. There's wreckage and the shattered body of the impressive bulk of a young matriarch is present there. And you're not even, I don't know if you know whether she's dead or alive, but you do know that that's not right. There's a whole lot of not right there. and the proper smells and stuff are coming off. I mean, the pheromones, the potential, this is where you get the right squirts. This is where you're going to get what you need. But look at this, right? It's like, finding God and mom all at once, and she might be dead. So, and the ship too, like I say, it goes through that spin that I was talking about. So everything's disorienting, and there's no up or down, and it's completely, frenzied or terrifying, I would say, potentially in there. So that's what's going on with you. Take a look at what it was. Now it's time for make a roll. Tell me what you're going to do, and let's roll for it. Jerry, get your dice ready.
Yeah, I got them. Mm-hmm. I got them. So yes, I've got.
I was going to use my lightning reflexes. That's my trait.
Okay. Yeah, I'm using the protect the matriarch, which I'm still hoping. It's like it looks worse than it actually is, guys.
And inside Hatch is like, no, it's pretty bad.
Yeah, her head's supposed to look like that. We just put it right back here. Right. It'll work.
Of course, you haven't seen this yet, right? You're on the outside. Yeah. So, right. So, okay, you've got your dice. I say a base of 2. I don't know if I said that. And the same thing for you, Renee. A base of 2. It's tough, but on the other hand, it's not like someone's trying to shoot you.
Right.
All right, I'm going to use my one pool dice.
Ooh.
So I'll have 5. So let's see.
I made it. I made a roll.
I was going to say, everybody succeeds. Wow. All right.
It's like Christmas.
Well, okay, we're done.
Exactly. Let's end it right here.
Exactly.
This was all we waited for.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
So in that case, who wants to talk? Who wants to grab a die? Each of you only had, I don't know, Jerry, what was your pool at that point?
It was 1 for the start of this game.
Wow. Okay. So do you guys want to take the die?
I will take this die because I have a feeling I will need it later. So I need this die because I need to actually start buying up traits.
How about you, Renee?
Same.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm going to start building.
All right. In that case, I am more than happy to imagine. I don't know if I can convey some. I'll try to give as much material as I can for everybody to pick it up, for themselves. Of the ship, entering the true atmosphere, in a in suddenly in white hot flame. And this, this entire ship was not intended to go actually land on a planet. And the main issue, as it basically disintegrates in flame, is this cylinder that is now revealed on the inside as a whole bunch of hivers are, with their defenses all turned up to whatever they can. Doing, I guess, sort of the Nordic shield wall,
right.
all over it, and then on the inside, Renee, what were you trying to do with the lightning reflexes precisely? What was the task in question, or the
basically it was just get as many hatchlings as I could save, and getting to to Mom.
Right.
And,
Okay. So
just kind of
right.
hovering on her and trying to absorb
Excellent.
whatever her pheromones or whatever
Right.
her direction that she has.
Okay, and that's
any.
exactly what you are accomplishing there. You are. So you were talking about making a little hive kind of thing, and you did. It doesn't turn you into a matriarch. These are developmental pheromones for infants, not the pubertal, decision to make a matriarch for somebody later. So so none of you are going to be designated as, the queen or anything like that. But you're able to do this with a ton of the hatchlings to actually, keep them from, for example, having the hiver equivalent of failure to thrive. Right. So, yeah, this particular pod device is actually made to land and to operate on the information that Hita did send. So, and since you made your roll, you're able to keep enough of its systems operative so that it can do its job. I will say, I think fairly, that this particular pod will never do this job again. and probably will retain none of its primary functions that it was supposed to have when it actually landed. And Hita, in the proper sequence of things, you would have sent that information, and a great deal of other slower sequential activities would have occurred, right, to bring the pod down properly. The idea that it would suddenly appear in a ball of flame and show up instantly is not the plan, right? So still though, you provided the coordinates and everybody has made this happen. So sure enough, despite a fairly cataclysmic event of this ship probably embedding itself in a mountainside, not too far away from your colony area, fortunately not on top of it, but not too far away from it, but coming to a non-standard rest that means a number of the hivers aren't going to survive, and the ship itself will not, the pod will not. But then, so, I can just, Hita's kind of like on the rock, there it goes. Wow. And the impact, of course, is tremendous. And I think Hyra's going to be probably a little surprised when you're planet side. Wow.
Yeah. We made it.
Yeah. And at this point, various squeaks, chirps, rustlings are becoming evident from the pod where the queen should be.
Okay, yeah, we need to get in there and do an accounting. We've got to make an assessment what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I need to see the queen.
Mm-hmm. Well, you do,
right?
And you see a few dozen, perky little hatchlings, looking at you, without all of their necessary nursey bots and specialized hivers to take care of them, and looking in some cases a little more developed than they should,
right,
biologically speaking. I mean, you guys got a full dose of the maturation,
right.
So you're not really grown up normal.
Yeah.
So
that kid has a goatee.
Yeah. And so therefore I think that's probably as far as I can take it, tonight. It wasn't very long, but I think that's what I've got in me.
Yeah, well,
as a start.
Good.
Yeah.
Yeah, we got a good first chapter.
Yeah.
And I made a roll.
Yeah.
You made it. Yeah, we should go and celebrate now.
Yeah, I should, because I was thinking like, oh man, if I miss this roll, it's like the colony dies.
I know. So
that was
so anyway, I find that's kind of interesting. I was thinking, just to tell you my thought processes. This is, and maybe I just should let this happen in play instead of like explaining it, but I kind of liked the idea that for one of these species, particularly the one that did have the most sort of reawakening experience at the Peace Conference, was the Hive. Because remember, it's got its new pink and orange ambassador, right? All sorts of things were different. And so I was thinking, well, the Avics are, racked with social reorientation and class struggle and stuff like that. And the Mercap are in this entire ideological, psychological readjustment. And it was kind of like, well, what if the Hive just gets it?
Right.
The Hive's fine. The matriarch's like, that's a really good idea. And the patriarchs are like, damn, we're going to give you lots of genetic material, queen. And, everything's fine. And so I kind of like the idea. Let's do a different kind of thing where the Hive actually came out of the Galactic Peace Conference pretty robust, right? So
I think that's cool. And I think it'd be kind of neat for the new hatchlings that do come out, that they look slightly different.
Right. Oh, yeah. That's what I'm thinking too.
Changed.
Yeah.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of cool.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, the whole thing. No, trust me. Like, I'll sit here and I'll take my little notes and come up with more goofy ideas.
Right.
And, it's like, oh, man, yeah, because of this is probably what's happening. Like,
well, that's kind of what I've done all along. I mean, I've asked the other players when we're at their species worlds, I've asked things. I mean, then I had ideas of my own, but I asked things about, what would that be or something like that. So that's what we're going to do.
And you get all these, essentially you're working kind of like the way people work through problems. Like if we sat here and had a think tank and we all eventually came to a conclusion because of all these weird disparate ideas that just kind of getting, thrown into it. And then that creates more emergent ideas.
Well, ideally, but in such environments like a writer's room and stuff like that, it usually ends up basically being a race to the middle, and all the good stuff gets thrown out, and you end up with a whole bunch of compatible, thin bullshit. And
that's not what we want.
Right, but here, what's different? The reason this works, and I don't mean just for the pool, but I mean really role playing at all.
Right,
is that you actually don't have a vetting process. You have an intersection. There are things where what you say is going to have to fly because you're that person who has that job. And so they come. That doesn't mean we can't do like the how abouts at each other and stuff like that. But it doesn't enter a negotiation. It is still a how about from the person who doesn't have it to the person who does.
Right.
And so then when they come together, it's robust. It's, it's made of pieces that aren't going to break. They're not subject to other people making them, dumb.
Well, yeah. And that's what's cool. It's as spicy as we want this soup to be.
Right.
It's,
so far, you all still kind of fall off the mountain.
Oh, that's right.
Well, yeah. Yeah, we made it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
True enough.
No idea how I've got
true enough. Yeah.
You where I know is a safe place.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, that's true. I mean, pretty much the way I described it, there literally isn't a safe place you could have landed. The only safe place is this way that Pika found. That's what
make it exactly to those coordinates.
No,
I went down there.
Right.
Like it's close enough. Yeah.
So I think that this actually could work out. I think this will work out nicely.
Oh, I'm excited about it.
Yeah,
I'm excited.
Yeah, me too.
Another issue too is that Helma and I just began another game, which features humans who are using a very insectoid model, and they are all heavily cyberized, and they share a telepathic group mind. And I was looking at that and starting that last night and playing this tonight. I was thinking to myself, okay, it's note to self.
Right.
This is going to have to be binary. Anything that applies to the Hive, and it's even called the Hive in 02. Right.
Oh,
so
okay, there you go.
Well, that's the point though. They have to be different, right?
Right.
They have to, everything I say for this is not going to apply to that, and vice versa. They're going to be completely different riffs on, you know, the basics.
Yeah.
So that's I mean,
now I have no doubt that this will be completely different from whatever's going on at the other virtual table, I guess.
Right. Well, actually, we're meeting in purpose.
Table.
We actually went back to a real table for the first time in a year and a half.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Look at you guys. How exotic.
Kind of.
It was really, really, really weird.
Well, let me ask you this, because I find virtual tabletops more exhausting.
They are tiring.
Just because, like, at a table, there's so much unspoken communication going on with nuance of, you know, people sitting there and how they are reacting to everything at that table, as opposed to, you know, this thing. There
is a player in the Spielenzhus group who I've played with in person a few times and on screen for a while now. He is a physically expressive person.
Right.
And so often he'll make an expression and a full body motion that conveys immense content.
Yeah.
And it does, and he is, you know, he's very articulate, but he doesn't really like to explain and describe and explain and describe. So he communicates a lot by, you know, looking at you without saying anything, or just, you know, pantomiming something after. I'm thinking Helma, after his soldier character shot the fellow soldier who had, you know, now thought that you guys were all intruders. And it's like he basically showed us how traumatized his own character was at having to shoot down his former.
The table is no good.
Yeah. And because
I didn't see much of it.
Yeah, but he was sitting right next to me, so I really caught that, and it was very strong. All of a sudden, that's when I said, "Oh, that's right. You know, you guys have been telepathically separated, but you know his number, which in this game is his name. I mean, you just shot someone, and you know his number, right? What? And I said that only because Odin did that." Right, the way he played. And we don't get that from him on screen.
No.
We don't feel the motions in real space around us like primates. So I like the screens far more than I thought I would in general. But to some players, their presence at the table is so three-dimensional, and it's not because they get up and dance jigs or anything, but it's just the way they communicate is like that. And Odin has that. I mean, being at the table with him for me is a very different experience than on the screen, much closer. So it's so that was a good thing. I enjoyed that. Anyway, we had a good time last night. It was the first time that this group had all played together. You know, this particular configuration, people had played together physically. And
how decadent!
I know.